Hi campers, I'm Miss Jennifer. I'm the agriculture agent here with the University of Florida IFAS Extension in Okaloosa County. Today here at Wolf Camp, we're going to be talking about feral hogs. Those are invasive species that are quite a problem in our area. So feral hogs, they're also called Sus scrova, that's their Latin name. They can be called wild hogs, wild boars, razorbacks, pineywood rooters. There's lots of names for them, but whatever you call them, they're not native to the U.S. They're actually a mix of Eurasian and Russian hogs that have been brought over for hunting purposes that have mixed with our domestic swine that have been here in our country used for meat. So some terms, because we all have to have some vocabulary, right? So native means a species that naturally occurs in that specified geographic area. Non-native is a species that does not naturally occur in the geographic area. And so invasive species is a species that's not native and can cause a problem. So it causes environmental problems, economic harms, or actual harms to humans. A nuisance is a species that just causes management issues or property damage or threatens public safety, but generally just an annoyance. A nuisance species can apply to both native and non-native species. So pig math, I like pig math. So if you've got one pregnant sow and she has 6 piglets that survive to adulthood, we'll say half of them are going to be boys, half of them are going to be girls, right? So that's her first litter. Now, we've got 4 mating hogs, and then that, if they each have 6 piglets, make it to adulthood. Now we've got, in 1 year's time, we've got 30 new hogs just from that one pregnant sow. So pigs can grow their population so quickly. That's one reason why they are such a problematic invasive species. So let's look at some feral hog damage. So you see the rooting here that they make. This is a pond, and they've rooted alongside the pond there. And this is where they've rooted along in between the trees. So they're rooting around the roots of the trees, and you can actually see the roots of the trees there on the screen. So now we've got a video so you can watch them rooting. So you see them here, they're just pushing around, and this is a pitcher plant bog, which is a very protected environment. And you see them, they're just ripping right through it, pushing each other around, rooting and eating anything that they can find in there. You can also see there's lots of large sows, medium boar there, a medium boar there, and some smaller piglets. So here's the rooting that they did there at the pitcher plant bog. This is just a picture of what they did, and you can see that they rooted up the pitcher plants to where they're dying. Like I said, those are a protected plant. So this is another way they damage our property. They wallow. So they find a little mud hole and they wallow and wallow and wallow in it. Basically, they just lay down and roll in it. But it causes holes. It causes decreased water quality in our environment. So we've got our damage to the environment. This is why they are so bad. You see our watershed here, and so basically, you know, like they said in Finding Nemo, all drains lead to the ocean. Well, it's the same premise. Is all that water is going to lead to the bigger bodies of water, and can cause anywhere along the way, if we get contaminants in it, it can cause decreased water quality. So we've got sediment erosion. That means little pieces of sand and things eroding. And we've got lack of filtering plants, because those pitcher plants filter out a lot of bad things, and other plants filter out a lot of the contaminants. And then we have fecal coliform. That just means that the pigs are pooping, and that bacteria that's naturally in pig poop makes it into our water, and that's gross. So our economic impacts, that just means the money. Let's talk money. So our agricultural crops, those are things like our cotton and our peanuts, our soybeans, our corn. We had over 1,500 acres just in one season damaged by wild hogs just in Northwest Florida. We have our sensitive ecosystems like those pitcher plant bogs that get destroyed. We've got our decreased water quality, which decreases our fun in the water, but it also decreases our tourism coming in. Our tourists don't want to come in and see ugly water. We've got our native plants, amphibians, and reptiles that are horribly impacted by these wild hogs. We've got the pitcher plants that we already talked about. We have a flatwood salamander that have a very, very specific breeding habitat that gets destroyed continually by wild hogs. And then even in South Florida, we have sea turtle eggs, sea turtle nests that are being raided and eaten by these wild hogs. So mitigation strategies, that's just a big term for how do we deal with it. So how do we deal with wild hogs? We can try exclusion fences, but wild hogs are very, very tenacious. They're very, very rough and tumble little creatures, and they will push through any fence that they can try to push through. So you've got to have a really, really ironclad fence to keep those wild hogs in or out. You can try toxicants or repellents. Basically, it's kind of like rat bait or rat poison. They've got that for hogs in some areas. Not a good option for us. We can try hunting, shooting, trapping. Trapping is going to be actually the best way to get wild hogs off of a piece of property. That way, especially if you use a smart trap, you can trap all the hogs at one time and get them off that property. So we've got regulations for trapping and hunting. Basically, this just means you can hunt wild hogs any way you want to hunt them, day or night, hunting license or not, you can harvest wild hogs. So we've got research on wild hogs. So we look at the feral hog impact on water quality. Other universities are looking at feral hog trapping techniques. So how to best trap those wild hogs and get them off properties. We're looking at the wild hog populations and the densities and their habitat preferences. In Florida, we are number 2. We're the number 2 state for the wild hog population in the United States. We are second only to Texas in our number of wild hogs. They love it here. Of course they love it here. It's beautiful weather, right? And then we've got zoonotic diseases. That just means zoonotic diseases is just diseases that can be passed between animals to humans. And they have several diseases that they can pass to us. And so we want research on that and how many of those hogs are actually carrying those diseases. So this is our feral swine population in 2019. You can see that there are 35 states in the United States that have wild hog populations. And you can see they really kind of like the warm states better than the colder states, but they can survive up there in those cold states. And those cold states that have feral hog populations, it's just because people have released them up there and they've developed a habitat there. Down here, our habitat is great for it. We don't have any large natural predators, especially in our area. In South Florida, there's the panther. But in our area, we really just don't have a lot of predators that are going to take care of these wild hog populations. So we have close to a 500,000 to 1 million wild hogs in the state of Florida. So how do we remove them? Most of them are being removed by trapping. So almost 50% of them are removed by trapping. And then we have ground shooting and aerial shooting. Aerial shooting is just a tiny portion of it. They do some of that in South Florida. So here's another cool video. We'll watch these little piglets make their way into the trap because little piglets, they're a little more naive, they're a little more trusting, and so they follow the corn trail on into the trap. What you don't see is the mama pigs are all around that trap, but they're not going to go in until they see those little pigs go in and come out safely. And so a smart trap, what that does is you don't drop that gate and close the trap until all the pigs are in. So if we had it set to where the piglets triggered the trap to close, then we would only catch the piglets. But with a smart trap, we trigger it once all the pigs have gone into the trap. All right, so if you have any questions, hopefully you can get those to us. We are here at the Extension office to help you. Hopefully you're going to enjoy this wolf camp, and especially enjoying our feral hog portion of the wolf camp. All right, thanks guys.